Hello again. I say again, this is episode 2, so I'm not getting carried away. But the fact is, we saw the statistics. You get the wee thing when you see underneath from the actual YouTube channel, 100 views. 100. I mean, even allowing for the fact that probably 10 of those are my mother trying to just make certain that her son is on YouTube and that'll come as a surprise to her. That still allows for the fact quite a lot of folks have seen this, at least certainly in Flemington Hallside terms. So if you're here as a member of Flemington Hallside or somebody who just comes along, really glad you tuned in. If you tuned in and you've got nothing to do with the congregation, then even more so, thanks for tuning in. So Saturday, I'm not the way things tend to go. We have been told with these kind of things is there's a kind of flurry of activity to begin with, and maybe it's not quite as much as it's a bit more than 5 minutes. It's nearer 10, and then things kind of calm down, and you get into a daily pattern, and hopefully it'll just be 5 minutes. We're trying to make Saturday something a wee bit shorter. It might still be a day, even allowing for the coronavirus shutdown, where it's kind of things you might do together as a family. It might be that this is a day that's got things in it, and so it's not meant to be too long, but it is meant to just have something for us to reflect on and think about. What I'm going to read today is a thing called Pandemic, appropriately enough. It's a poem that I found online by a woman called Lynn Unger. But what it does is really clever. It's because I think a lot of people are trying to work out, even if we start with the idea of a loving God and we're going through Lent and we're heading towards Easter, in practice, what should our attitude to this be? Because it's mucking everything up and it's restricting everything, and therefore it doesn't really feel like Easter. You know, this coming Sunday is Palm Sunday. It's about to start as Holy Week. It doesn't really feel like it. What should our attitude as Christians be to that? And what the poem does is say, should we be thinking about it the way the Jews reflected on the Sabbath? And so I just wanted to kind of remind you, this is one of these, it's called an integrated Bible. It basically means I've got Matthew, Mark, and Luke all side by side. So this is the story. I'm not going to read it all out from all three of them, but it's the story where Jesus and the disciples are walking through the grain fields, and they're picking the grains off the head, and they're basically eating it there and then. The major problem is, it's the Sabbath, and as a consequence, the Pharisees are there, just obviously giving thanks to God that they've got Jesus, the supposed authoritative preacher, and they've got him on a gotcha moment. You have been caught, son, because your followers are breaking the Sabbath rule. So this is Matthew 12, the first 14 verses, Luke chapter 6, the first 11 verses, and then it's kind of Mark chapter 2, 23 into Mark chapter 2, verse 23 into the following chapter, verse 6 of chapter 3. So it starts with them walking through, and Jesus defends them by talking about what David did when he was doing a similar thing because his soldiers were hungry. And then it moves on to, again, scandal upon scandal. Jesus heals somebody, but he does it on a Sabbath. And you begin to recognize the whole debate around here is, what should the attitude of somebody who wants to follow God be to this day that's supposed to be set aside? And what you have in the clear teaching of Jesus is Sabbath is meant to be a blessing to human beings. It's not meant to be full of gotcha moments where church leaders catch folk out. We're meant to take time apart from the daily routine, the weekly routine, and have a time of rest, where the restrictions are actually quite, they restrict no work. And the thing that struck me as I was reflecting on it was, Scotland used to be like this, all shops closed, people going to church in the morning, and then going to the children's thing in the afternoon, and then going to the evening service. This country used to grind to a halt because it was the Sabbath. Perhaps we need to reflect on this time as an enforced Sabbath, a time where we're meant to slow down and remember who's in charge. Reflect on this poem, because it says it a whole lot better than I do. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel, cease from buying and selling, give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Centre down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. There's a lot in there. I don't think we can just read this once and actually leave that poem. Probably come back to that at other points. But it's that basic issue. We will make of this what God wants us to make of this restricting, difficult, challenging time, when we come with an attitude that God would seek us to bring to these challenges. Enforced restrictions, enforced rest and quietness. Can we come to accept that perhaps in the absence of a focus on the Sabbath as it once had, Scotland now has an enforced Sabbath that looks as if it's going to be weeks long? If we approached it and thought about it and reflected on it as Scots used to reflect on the Sabbath, would that be a way that we could purposefully and significantly ultimately benefit from this time of restriction? How do you think we should approach this? What attitude would you say would be helpful? Let me know. I've shared one perspective. Tell me if you think there's another one that would be beneficial. As I said before, any questions, any thoughts, just let us know. Not only did we get 100 views, we had 6 people who decided to subscribe. You could even do that as well. The thing is, I told you it was going to be trying to be a wee bit shorter, and it's still gone 9 minutes. So, as ever, Church of Scotland ministers, they start talking, they don't know when to stop. However, I am going to stop now. Thanks for watching.